I wanted to talk about why I am running for president. Um, Actually, I was on the ballot in 2016 and I won the 2016 election for Trump, as I mentioned in my previous video. And I just voted for Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know if you can see this here, right here. Last time I tried to do this, but my camera wouldn't focus. But anyways, Tulsi's on here and I voted for Tulsi. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can. Anyways, I voted for Tulsi. The reason I don't believe my name's on the ballot in the primaries, but it will be in the general election. And if it's not, you can write me in. I'm very busy, and I've actually written a huge body of law. It's the size of an encyclopedia. And that's because when Vladimir Putin came into my life in 2003, I noticed there was so much injustice in the world, and a lot of it was tied around the legal system, which I felt was totally corrupt. And so I wrote Conspiracy Law in an attempt to have justice in the world, to override the the corrupt establishment that, see, the Jesuit order's been in existence ever since around the 1500s, and they have access to scientific technology which is not being discussed on any news channel except Gabriel Chana Fox News, and what they're doing with it is criminal. They create clones in order to steal the identities of authentic people. They've done this to just about every man on my marriage list, and they do this to anybody um, who is famous or influential and who they feel is in their way. And they've tried to clone me, but they can't because my Catherine the Great, King David genetic profile is immune to cloning. Um, and other members of my family are hard to clone. Unfortunately, I have a very evil sister who I believe is either a sociopath or a psychopath. You might say, how could you come out so different from your sister? Well, I was raised by a narcissist mother, and I was the she was the golden child, and I was the one that she kind of like despised or didn't have any respect for. And as a result of that, I was very, very shy. And I was so shy, my first grade teacher went to my mother and said, your girl is so shy, she's about to flunk first grade. And come on, Lord, get the lighting here. And so my mother said, just go ahead and put her in second grade. And then I did all right. But I was actually a smart kid. My great uncle is Howard Hughes, and they attacked him because he had King David genes. I got my King David genes from my father, and my great uncle's Howard Hughes, and I literally do have the genetic profile of Catherine the Great and King David. It is true, and that's why I'm such a target. And I mean, I know I'm a target as soon as I go out. Like today, when I went grocery shopping, it's funny. Like when I'm going through the aisles, I feel like everybody's just timed to bump into me. And like when I was at the pharmacy today, there, because of HIPAA rules, they're supposed to wait 7 feet back from the pharmacy counter. When I went to pick up my Seroquel, this person was right, practically breathing over my neck. He was right behind me. I'm sure he was a Jesuit. And I'm surprised that the pharmacist didn't tell him to go back. So today it seemed like Walmart, the store where I was shopping today, was just overrun with Jesuits. This is very common for me. I mean, I notice like when I go out and drive, this has been going on for me with me for years. And what I do is I write my men, I send them an email, and I let them know what happened. And sometimes I'm able to get pictures, but you got to be careful getting video footage of complete strangers and putting them up. I can send private stuff, but I can't post them publicly. It could be an invasion of privacy issue. But the reason I'm running for president is because I am probably the least corrupt of all the candidates running. I admire Tulsi Gabbard because she seems to have pure motives for wanting to be president. However, I don't think she's going to be able to overcome the rigging of the Democratic primaries. Lori McBride pretty much has control over both the Democrat and the Republican Party. And what I'm trying to offer to the world is an alternative. A lot of Bernie Sanders supporters, Tulsi Gabbard supporters, and even Donald Trump supporters are really pissed because they feel like their voices aren't heard. And Lori McBride has created division in politics and in the world. She touts herself as a leftist, a liberal, and she supported Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is a sociopath, people. I'm telling you the truth, and I believe that about 80% of the politicians in both parties, but especially the Democratic Party right now, because Lori McBride has practically taken over the Democratic Party, are either sociopaths, narcissists, or psychopaths. And I offer another option. You know, my sister is really, you might say, you should, my sister, my men visited her in 2012, in May 2012, at her house. Her name is Sandra Metcalf. And she got really jealous when she found out that I have all these famous men in my life. And Lori McBride somehow contacted her, and they got together and they became BFF. And my men had to fight my sister and Lori McBride in court. My sister knows about all the evil that Lori McBride does, and she still is BFF with Lori McBride. And I'm just so ashamed of her. And what's really sad is when Melania Trump wanted to kill me to get my pubes, my sister, my men, when we executed Melania Trump, when Brent Spiner took out Melania Trump, who was all happy about killing me after, you know, to get my pubes. I mean, she's a psychopath. She was a psychopath. I think she's in hell right now. My sister and Lori McBride, my men were able to view them. My sister and Lori McBride were so upset that we took out Melania Trump. And they knew that Melania wanted me dead. This is the family that I have, people. Now, my mother, I believe, is a victim of brain control, but my mother is a narcissist. And she is right now off of her path, and she is an abuser. And she's working with my sister. She has the narcissist problem. The narcissists have a very fragile ego, even though they appear to be very arrogant. And she is siding with my sister, and I had to cut it off. I couldn't. I've got a sociopath for a sister who is trying to get me falsely imprisoned or locked up. She probably dreams about this in her sleep. My narcissist mother raised a sociopath. Now you may say, why didn't you become one? Well, I was the one who got abused. I had a problem with codependency though because of being raised by a narcissist mother. So, but I'm just letting you know this. I do not have a supportive family. And it wasn't when Brent Spiner came into my life in 1991, and I'm an INFP, he's an INFJ. He was very, very perceptive, even though I wrote him a letter and said that I deliberately told him at that time that I was on psychiatric meds because at that time I thought I had manic depression. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder manic type, never schizophrenia. That's just something the the Jesuits just cooked up out of the blue. And I've never been, from what I don't know if I have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, I'm not aware of it, but I know I have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, manic type. But I now feel that that was an incorrect diagnosis, that what I had was a yeast infection. See, I went to see a psychiatrist because I was having trouble sleeping. And I thought maybe he could help me sleep. I started reading some books about, right after I delivered my baby, I was having trouble sleeping. I now know what the problem was. I was suffering from malnutrition because of the yeast. So I wasn't getting my B vitamins, I wasn't getting my magnesium, I wasn't getting my calcium, and that's why I couldn't sleep. So I started the psych meds to sleep, and actually they weren't helping me with my sleep. I took them. The only thing that worked was the tranquilizer, but that would work even if you didn't have a psychiatric disorder. The other stuff I took actually made it worse because we weren't dealing with the root cause, which at that time was a nutritional deficiency caused by yeast. I've had this yeast infection. The Jesuits have infected me with yeast. They drop it in the bombs over my head. I think they were putting it in some of my medicines. I think they were contaminating some of my food. And I do recall times when I ate something and I got really sick afterwards and I could tell it was contaminated. So they've been obsessed with me because of my King David genes. And as a result of that, Brent Spiner, he'd die for me. And he was the one who brought me out of my codependency. When I first started making YouTube videos, I was kind of shy about telling the truth about all of my life. And Brent Spiner said, Gail, you need to tell your story. You need to open up. So anyways, the reason I'm running for president is because because the people, the little people, you know, you folks out there that aren't a super rich celebrity, you folks out there that aren't in the positions of power, the powerful are keeping you from having a voice. And I know some of you are so discouraged. I go online and I read about Tulsi Gabbard supporters. They're just so frustrated. Even Bernie Sanders supporters, they're so frustrated. They say they're gonna rig it, even though we know that everybody wants either Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard. They're going to rig it, and those people are not going to get in. And some establishment guy, just because he's got money, like Michael Bloomberg or Hillary Clinton, who some people think is going to come back in the race, and she's is going to end up with the Democratic nomination. You know what? It might happen, but I've got good news for you. I am running third party. I have established the Gabriel Chana Independent Political Party, and I'm giving you all a choice. And being raised by a narcissist and having a sister that is a sociopath, I really sympathize. I think we have a narcissism epidemic in the world today. And 80% of the politicians, I believe, are narcissists. Now, let me tell you something. Because I'm a very busy person, I'm going to delegate a lot of my job as president. I'm trying to get the lighting here, just like, I'm trying to delegate. What I'm planning on doing is, if these people are willing, I want to make Tulsi Gabbard my vice president. I want to put Bernie Sanders in as Secretary of Health and Human Services. I don't like Bernie Sanders' foreign policy. He goes into this Russiagate nonsense too much, and I just recently read about him saying that if he felt he had to do a preemptive strike against Iran, he might do it. And he's no better than Trump in foreign policy. So I won't, but I like Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all. I like a lot of it. I actually have my own national health care plan, which it's not really Medicare for all. It's more like single payer, but it allows private insurance to stay in business, to compete with it. But because it's such a good deal, just check the link underneath this page. My men have already put this national health care plan that I authored back in around 2009. into action. It saves people money. It controls the cost of prescription medications, and the doctors like it. And the way we save money in the plan is that you have to use the lawyers that are in the network. So it's like a huge HMO. That's how it's set up. You've got to use the doctors and the lawyers. They've got to sign a contract saying they'll abide by this contract. And before they carry out any procedure, they have to go through a brain scan, and they have to admit under lie detection that the treatment that they've carried out with this patient, to the best of their knowledge, is the best treatment for this patient. And if they have to say that, and if they don't pass lie detection when they say that, we've got technology that's pretty good lie detection now, then they might get kicked out of our network. And we save money because the doctors don't have to spend a lot of money on malpractice insurance, because they have to use our lawyers. And then our lawyers have like a set schedule of what they're allowed to charge. They cannot just sue. They cannot have like multi-million-dollar ridiculous lawsuits for something that maybe only caused $1,000 worth of damage. We don't allow that in the plan, and that's how we save money. It's a very good plan. We've already put it into action. We control the cost of prescription drugs. We have a cap on malpractice and lawsuits. The doctors in the plan have to use our lawyers. Our lawyers also have to agree not to be ridiculous. So that's how it's a very good national healthcare plan. And by controlling the cost of the drugs and having set prices for services, and the doctors are kind of like paid a salary, and they can get paid more if they get good reviews by their patients and so forth. So that's how it works. It's a really good plan. And another thing, okay, so I wanted to make Ron Paul secretary, I think they call Secretary of the Treasury. And as president, my goal is to abolish the Federal Reserve Bank. I think that is an abomination from hell. So the Jesuits started the Federal Reserve. We have our own version of the Federal Reserve, so I take that out. I do not like the Federal Reserve Bank. And I think Ron Paul's got some really sensible ideas about the economy. So what I've done is I've chosen people, I'm kind of up on my favorite politicians. So Ron Paul would be in the Treasury, and he would help us with the economy. Tulsi Gabbard is vice president. I will delegate a lot to her, but she has to honor my conspiracy law. Rand Paul, I would make Secretary of State. And so what I'm going to have in my cabinet is a mix of Democrats and Republicans who hold my views. And I'm actually libertarian, Constitution, and green in my views. I like Ben Carson. I think he's a good person. So I'd like to keep him as HUD. And I also would like him in charge of education. So I'm letting you know who my cabinet are, so you can get an idea who I am. And so basically just check my site and you'll see what kind of a leader I would be. You might say, you don't have a chance in hell of getting. Actually, I won the 2016 election for Trump. But we gave him back the presidency when we rescued him on January 6, 2017 from Angelina Ballerina. But the sad thing is that his evil wife, Melania, basically took over his job. She threatened to kill me if he wouldn't do what she wanted. That's why we had to execute her. That's why Brent Spiner took her out. She's a psychopath. Now, the problem we have right now, I have voting laws too, that with my voting laws, no Lori McBride Jesuit can vote. And if they go to the voting booth, their vote is not supposed to count. The reason why is because they are considered war criminals and they don't have the right to vote. In fact, they don't even have the right to remain alive. We have overwhelming evidence that Lori McBride and her willing and knowing supporters are killers, and that they would not hesitate They would not hesitate to nuke the entire planet if they felt that's what they had to do to maintain power. They would kill. Lori McBride maintains her power by murdering those who do not support her. And she does it very underhanded to make it look like those people who expose her like me are crazy. Like she used a tweeter bird. What she'll do is she'll create something that's really strange, that like a tweeter bird. Yes, she created a tweeter bird. This was like July 2018. And I had Twitter following of about 13,000 people at my Twitter. Apparently she didn't like this. And she created a tweeter bird and it murdered about 12. It actually was programmed to go all over the world, find my Twitter followers and kill them. And it killed, and I looked at my Twitter and I thought, I told Zach Knight, I said, I lost about 12,000 Twitter followers. What happened? And Zach Knight said they were all murdered. They were all murdered. Lori McBride murdered them. Lori McBride she does not like Tulsi Gabbard. She also does not like Donald Trump. And let me tell you about, okay, Donald Trump will be in my cabinet too if I'm president. I'm going to have him to be my press secretary. He's a very good communicator. I know he gets criticized a lot for tweeting too much, but he is a good communicator. That's why he won. Well, even though I represented him, I told people if they voted for Trump, they were voting for me. He's an excellent communicator. So I have him in charge of my campaign, if he's amenable to it, and I think he is. And also, I'm going to have him be my press secretary. You say, how are you going to do this with you not being in mainstream news? Well, I'm Representative Gabriel Chon of Fox News 00 on cable. So I just wanted to let you all know, everybody vote for me. You can write me in. I don't believe I'm in the primaries, but I'm in the general election. And I'm letting you know some people that I'm planning on, that I would like to put on my cabinet. I think I mentioned Ron Paul, Ben Carson. Oh, Tucker Carlson. I love Tucker Carlson. And I think I want to make him chief of staff. And what that means is I'm going to be delegating a lot of my responsibilities to Tulsi Gabbard. So Tulsi Gabbard's going to be carrying out a lot of my presidential responsibilities. And she will be using, I would like her to use Tucker Carlson as chief of staff. Now, most presidents use a lawyer for that job. But I think I would give Tucker, I think he's just such a common sense, smart guy. And I want him to have that job. And he can hire, as chief of staff, it's his job to hire the rest of the presidential staff. I just think he has good judgment. He has good common sense. And every time I watch him on Fox News, I usually end up agreeing with him all the time. I mean, I agree with him like 97% of the time. The only area, yeah, just about. He and I are on the same page. So I wanted him on my cabinet. Now, I'll let you know, if my men let me know, if some of these people don't want to do it. But I actually have a lot of support. A lot of support. In fact, when I heard that when I won the election in 2016, that all of the former presidents, I think, supported me at the time, maybe with the exception of Bill Clinton, because we beat Hillary. Okay, so folks, I just wanted you to know, what you're watching on the news is not accurate, okay? From what Terrence Jenkins told me, we've replaced all the reporters with automatons, and everybody in politics is automatons. So just vote for me, and what you're going to do is you're going to get what I call the people's president. Because I'm going to have Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, Donald Trump on my cabinet. And that means both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, are going to get representation with me as president. We have got too much division in this country. I'm trying to get us together so we can work together and get stuff done, okay? So I am the one who's going to heal the divide in our country. That's why, even though I don't agree with everything Sanders does, I like some of his ideas. So I want him on my cabinet. Same with Tulsi Gabbard. Same with Donald Trump. I don't agree with any of these. I'm putting them in the areas where I think they'll be the most helpful. Bernie Sanders, Health and Human Services. Ben Carson, um, uh, Education, HUD. He's good at HUD, so I'm going to leave him there. Ron Paul, great with I like his idea on economics. He's a libertarian. I like that. Rand Paul, I really was impressed when he stood up to Trump for assassinating Soleimani. That Soleimani was on my marriage list. So these are the people. Okay. So I just wanted to give like my presidential stump speech and let you know we've got a narcissism epidemic, but I am not a narcissist. Thanks to Brent Spiner, I'm no longer a codependent. I'm an INFP who is sticking up for myself, and most INFPs are kind of shy and they don't do that. And I will not be intimidated. You can call me crazy. You can throw the labels out at me, but I am not going to let you sociopaths and psychopaths shove me into a corner. I will be president. I'm going to represent the people out there that don't have a voice. I've picked political candidates that align with me in a lot of areas from both parties who will be on my cabinet. I am the uniter, not the divider. We're going to get things done under a Gail, Chord, Schuler administration.